Hey guys, Will here, and today we've got a lot of news regarding garrisons. So we've learned more about how you obtain your garrison, and basically just a lot more features regarding them. So first of all, the way you first obtain your garrison, you get it very early on in Draenor. So for the Horde, after you rescue some Frostwolves, Durotan gives you a plot of land in Frostfire Ridge. Now presumably the Draenei, maybe Velen or Maraud, give the Alliance player something similar. We're not totally sure on how the Alliance gets their garrison in Shadowmoon yet, but it's assumed to be fairly parallel to the Horde version. Now, one of the things you might have heard if you've been looking at the news lately is that the garrisons are only in the starting area now, which means that your garrison will only be in Shadowmoon or Frostfire Ridge. Now, a lot of people were looking forward to something that was said at BlizzCon, that you could move your garrison to the various other zones. If you wanted your garrison in Nogrind or if you wanted it in Talador, it was said that you could do that. But now it appears that you actually cannot do that. And the reason they've said for this is it's mainly due to the integration. They've gone back and they've heavily integrated garrisons into the leveling and questing experience, especially in the beginner zones. But even in later zones, you'll go back and forth between, say, Talador or Gorgrond, and then you'll go back to your garrison, you'll have quests that lead you back there, and you'll upgrade it as you level and things like that. And they said that it remaining static and stationary in those zones makes sense due to this new integration. But they've also said they really want us to be able to move it when your garrison is fully upgraded, perhaps as a max level feature, not while leveling, but definitely, while you're max level, I think it would be cool to be able to move it. We've seen a ton of backlash regarding the decision to not allow you to move it. It seems like people were really looking forward to putting their garrison in Nogrind. I mean, people really love that zone. They loved it in DC, I think they're going to love it in Draenor, and so not being able to move your garrison does kind of suck. I don't know, I love Shadowmoon Valley, I love the new one, but Frostfire Ridge, I don't know if every Horde character is going to be like, I love, snow and mountains all the time. They might maybe they want to go to, maybe they want to put theirs in Shadowmoon as well, or maybe they want to put it in Spires of Iraq. I think it would be really cool to be able to move your garrison, and it seems bad to cut features from their biggest new thing. Garrisons is the only really huge feature in Draenor, the big gameplay feature that, Pandaria had pet battles and challenge modes and scenarios. Garrisons is bigger than any of those individually, but it's only one thing, and so if they're gonna cut anything from garrisons at all, I don't really like them cutting this feature in particular, because it's one of those big customization things that people really wanted. And already the garrisons don't have racial buildings, which is something people wanted. They only have one set of buildings per faction. So if you're Alliance, your buildings are gonna look like this. If you're Horde, your buildings will look like this. And people really wanted I'm Forsaken or I'm a Blood Elf. I don't think that my race should be represented by these orcish buildings. I mean, it might work for a Tauren or a Troll, but it doesn't really work for an undead player. Building specific racial buildings for every race would basically come at the cost of a raid tier, because those are the same resources used to make the raids, to make the dungeons. And so they really can't afford to use those art resources on those things, because, well, they have to use it for dungeons and raids. They can't afford to put everything on garrisons. And that makes sense, and they've said that they are trying to incorporate racial motifs or hits on the various profession buildings, maybe on an alchemy building for Alliance, you'll see crystals or something that represent Draenei, or for an herbalism thing, you'll see Night Elf stuff. And that makes sense, and that'll be cool. I'm glad they're doing at least that much. In Garrison follower news, it appears that some quest givers can be recruited as Garrison followers, which is pretty cool. I think that it'll be nice to have familiar faces. Basically the way this will work is, you'll do some quest for a guy, and then at the end of the chain you can be like, hey, do you want to come join my garrison? And then he'll, be a follower, and you can send him on missions and things like that. The same as any other follower that you might recruit through your inn. I think that's a pretty cool system. Again, more integration into the questing experience. They say that garrisons will offer lots of choices that give tangible rewards. So which buildings you pick in your various plots will matter, because you only have a certain number of plots. Even at the max level, you can't put every building. Now these choices aren't permanent. You can change your mind later, but that'll cost resources. So you do want to think about it. You might, if you're a min-maxer, you might think about which buildings you want based on the professions you have, or based on, what your guild needs, things like that. You can't have all the bonuses, so you have to pick and choose which ones are really important to you and kind of gear your garrison toward that style of play. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of reminiscent of building a base in Warcraft 3 or something like that. Even though obviously we don't have the actual real-time strategy elements, it will feel like you're kind of building a base, which is what they're going for here. In addition, there's going to be some group content with Garrisons. That was a concern, because the farm, which is kind of the predecessor to Garrisons, there wasn't any really group content. You could invite a friend to come look at your farm, which I don't know why anyone would want to do that. Oh, look, I got the dog on my farm, and he just sits there. No one really cared about that. But with garrisons, occasionally your garrison will be like attacked or under siege by Iron Horde or ogres or things like that, and you'll have to fend them off, and you'll get rewarded for doing that. It'll be you and your followers and any party members you can invite and help fend off those attacks, and that'll be pretty cool to kind of invite your friends to come check out your garrison and help you fight back enemies. They say that garrisons are heavily integrated with professions, in that if you really want to do professions, you're going to focus on the garrison. There's tons of profession buildings, I believe one for every profession that has multiple upgrades, and like they generate mats and things like that. So if you want to do professions, you definitely want to get into garrisons, and you can have several different buildings. So they said that having these various buildings will kind of be like having that profession on your character, but not quite. Like you'll be able to make things, like let's say you have an alchemy building, you'll be able to make flasks and potions, but it might not be quite as good as having the actual profession, but it'll be very close. And I think that's cool, because a lot of people right now kind of feel like they have to have a lot of alts if they want to be self-sufficient. Like if you want every profession, you have to have, you know, like 5 characters or whatever, and I don't think everyone's a big fan of that right now. I think that people wish that they could, you know, have every profession on their one main character. They don't really want to play every alt. It might make professions feel a little bit less important, but I don't know, really, professions could use a revamp overall. Like, crafting in WoW has never been that interesting, and it's definitely gotten a lot more boring. They've done some catch-up mechanisms for leveling professions lately, but that hasn't really made the end game and making the items actually any more interesting. So I'm really hoping this will make professions a little bit more interesting. The one thing I'm kind of worried about is that it seems like the garrisons are going to be kind of like dailies or the farm, in that they'll be hassle every day. Because they're character specific, you'll have to do this on every character if you're really min-maxing, and they kind of seems like they're going to be mandatory for raiders because they do reward epic level gear. So if you really want to gear up and get into raids and, you know, start progressing, you're probably going to have to do garrisons on every character every day, which might be a little bit tedious and remind us of dailies or doing the farm. Now the farm was pretty easy, but if it's more like doing dailies, and there are going to actually be like daily quests at the garrison based on which followers you have, like you can recruit like a Blackrock chef and he'll give you cooking dailies, which usually aren't that bad, but again, dailies. So I'm not totally sure if this is going to work out. Hopefully any kinks like that will be ironed out in beta. They seem very determined to make sure they're character-based and not account-based, which I'm not sure I agree on, but we'll see how things go as the alpha and beta progress. Anyway, that's all the news we really have for this week. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.